Hey, we're back again with another episode of Measure Up Podcast. We measure what counts: faith, family, fitness, and finance. Don, we've been doing this for a couple times now. We have not been canceled yet.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
Oh, man. So what we got today, Don? What are we getting into?
So today's topic is going to be about family. So how does that building block help you with the other building blocks?
Oh, man.
Obviously, you got to tie. That's an instrumental component, right? For most people,
Sure.
family is their why.
Yeah.
It's why you focus on finance. It's why you want to have good, sound faith and something to stand on.
Yeah.
That's something that you leave behind for them. And then more importantly, fitness, right? Sharing that with them, because families that train together
Yeah.
stay together.
Oh, wow. Did you bookmark that phrase?
Well, I'm going to.
America, let's
but it's true.
bookmark that. Yeah.
Families that train together stay together. It's true. You think about it, right? What better way to build connection with your family than doing a workout together? Because it's like life. There's going to be challenge. There's going to be struggle.
Yeah.
There's going to be hardship. But at the end, you know that the time you're investing is going to make you better.
Wow.
It's like that refinement process that we all go through.
I love it.
So as we get into this topic, I want to open up with a few questions for our audience.
Sure.
To kind of figure out how family helps you with those other aspects of those pillars. So when we think about family, how does your family give you the strength and the courage to build a business?
Man, that's a good question. I think number one, they're encouraging. Let's start with the wife, right? Who is the pillar, pretty much the backbone, if you will. You mentioned a few episodes ago about how your wife pretty much told you to take a chance on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for me. Literally, when I was like, do we want to do this? We were looking into it, and she's like, let's do it. Let's go all in. You got to have that first. You got to have a buy-in. If you have two different visions,
Game over.
division. Two visions equals division equals divorce. So you don't want that, right? So our viewers out there, you got to be on one accord. You got to have a vision, the same vision, right? And then for me, when I look at my daughters, I want to build this for them. I am one that believes in nepotism to the full effect degree. And every time I see you with your kids at the gym, I always tell you that I'm always looking at you like, wow, that's something that I want for my kids. Now, I won't necessarily have them drinking bourbon at a young age, but I want them to know that they can go into any room and belong because daddy paved the way for them. And that's the way my dad built it for me, and that's what I want to do for them. And I want them to be able to be, you want your kids to do better than you.
Of course.
Ultimately. And so they motivate me every time I'm looking around and I'm like, I want to get this for you, baby girl. I want you to have this. I want you to have the best things in life. And that's why I continue. They motivate me every day to get better and to keep building and to not quit. And especially as a male, your only job is to protect, provide. That's your only job as a man.
Agree.
Protect and provide. So if you're not protecting, providing, what are you doing? And so those are my two pillars that I want to do to keep me motivated to continue to build my business.
So as you're building it, you obviously have a goal in mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're tying in your family, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind for your family? And how are you going to not only do it for them so that legacy is there, right, long term, but how are you going to incorporate them along the journey with you? Because that's the key, right?
Yeah.
You don't want them just seeing the end result. How do you incorporate them along the journey? For our audience and listeners, that's a struggle, right?
Yeah.
Because trying to balance launching a company or shooting for the top in corporate America and trying to raise a family at the same time, it sounds counterintuitive. So how do you do that?
Yeah. Sometimes you think it's dang near impossible. But I want my legacy to be for my kids. I want them to look at me and just be able to say that dad was somebody who worked hard and he provided. I look at my grandfather, a man that literally had a 5th grade education, no higher than a 5th grade education, and literally raised 9 kids. And he was a baby of 16 off a 5th grade education, provided every day, went to work every day. And when he died, we said he was a man of faith and he left a legacy behind. That means he gave to people. And that's what I want people to say. When it's all said and done, well done, thy good and faithful servant. I literally want my kids to say that. Like, he literally fought the good fight. And his legacy is he helped others and he never cheated the game.
Okay. So now as you're building your business, So as you launch Old Hillside, obviously there's going to be times where you're out hustling, trying to build your brand, gain awareness in your spirit sector, right? You're trying to compete against other brands that have a lot more capital. We talked about the importance of capital.
Yeah.
How do you, because time is the one thing that once it's gone, it can't be bought back.
Absolutely.
How do you manage your time wisely and never take away from your why, which is your family,
Sure.
but still build your brand? How do you do that? So for the audience,
Yeah.
what are a couple key things that you can relate to them that they can measure every single day? Am I on the right path or not?
Yeah. Number one, I mentioned it a couple episodes ago. Number one, every day, and when I started this early on, I pray, God, help me manage my time. Number one, help me manage it efficiently, right? Because I think the hardest part about being a man, really young, is everybody wants your time now. Kids want it now. The business wants it now. Your wife wants it now. Everybody. And then especially Bishop T.D. Jakes said it best, your early years are your earning years. So if you got a lot of money, you don't got no time. And if you got a lot of time, you don't have any money, right? So you're trying to constantly juggle that act. And so number one, always like pray that I manage my time effectively, one. And then two, so literally I structure my day properly, right? So me personally, this is what I do. Obviously I'm up with you every morning about 4:30, right? That's my workout that starts my day. And then I plan my day basically in 4-hour blocks. So from 4:30 to 6:30, almost 7, gym time. That is the one dedicated hour. You notice at the gym, outside of until we get on the treadmill, I do not touch my phone. That is the dedicated time that I'm not texting anybody. That is my time to work out. Boom, gun, done. From that point on, go back, we shower, I'm spending time with the kids, dropping them off, et cetera, and I build my day around that. And so what I try to do is map out my day to be around as much as I can. And also what I've learned, especially when you have younger kids, is that although you can be physically there, make sure you're actively there and you're present. So a lot of the times early on when my kids were younger, a lot of the arguments me and wife had is like, you're there, but you're not there. You're physically there, but you're not there.
So there's a difference between being actively there and physically there.
Absolutely. And a lot of times I'd be in the room while they're watching TV and I'm on my phone, I'm on my laptop. God forbid it's college football season. I'm watching a game, which we all have dealt with, but learning how to be not just physically present, but actively there is very important when especially when you have young kids in general. But when it's your early years, you just really want to make sure that you're spending as much time as you can. How do you find that balance? Is you got to realize it's number one, you're just one person, and days you are going to fail. Somebody is going to come up short. That's just how it goes. Today is just a matter of, is the business going to come up short or is the family going to come up short? Some days, like you said, can I hold this fire down till tomorrow until it can be put out? So you have to find that balance. So for me, I build out my day. It is kids. Then I'm working throughout the day. Wife comes home. I spend some time with her. She'll go to the gym. I go get the kids. I spend some time with them. We all have family dinner together every night, unless I'm gone. That is in a pillar that my parents installed into me, and I will live for it. I love it. We all family dinner every night, 6:30, 7 o'clock. We're all together around the table. We're eating. Then we're going to go watch a show. And then I'm probably back on the laptop, and then I'm reading. And so that's kind of been my day. And I love schedules. My dad's military. So I pretty much have built this schedule nonstop. But you need to have structure. If you don't have structure, you're going to fail.
Okay.
So having that structure is important.
So structure is important in order to be able to balance family time with growing a business.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what did you do when making the decision to launch the brand, whether it was Old Hillside or Measure It with me as your partner? What did you do with regard to sitting down and having that dialogue with your spouse to make sure that you have the support? And how did you get her engaged on that vision for these businesses? And why would you open up another business while you're still growing an early startup? How does that?
So first of all, Don, you're going to get me in trouble because we didn't really talk about the Measure podcast. I just kind of brought it home one day. I was like, hey, Don kind of has this idea. And she literally said, you hate podcasts. I was like, I know, but freaking Don has me sold on it. So I mentioned to her, but what's important was if you, number one, if you have a business, and on top of the business, you need to build your personal brand. And that's one thing you taught me, is building your personal brand. So I really was like, oh man, in order for the business to grow, I need to build my personal brand as well. I'm one that doesn't like to be behind or in front of the cameras, right? I'd much rather be behind, but you got to build your personal brand, number one.
Of
That can
course.
only help the business, right? So one thing I talked about when I was building Old Hillside, I had told her, I said, hey, I have this idea. It wasn't an idea. I said, I feel like I'm supposed to do this. And the initial launch point was November 2021, when we had our first bottle signing in Durham, North Carolina. True statement. Nobody's ever tasted our bourbon. Nobody's ever tried it. We put something out on social media that said we were doing a bottle signing. We had the entire city, and I mean no exaggerations, hundreds of people come out in the cold during COVID. We broke a state record, and we hold that record to the day for the fastest selling brand in state history. We sold over 300 bottles in less than 46 minutes. People were buying 5, 6, 7, 8 bottles at a time at the bourbon they had never even tried. I mean, the line was wrapped up. We got to the store and I was like, what is going on? Are we selling iPhones? Like, what the heck is going on? Who got the word out? That day, when I got done with the bottle signing, I literally was like, oh, I think I'm done with corporate America. I went home. My daughter was 6 months at the time. And I told my wife, I said, I think I want to do this full time. Like, we have something here. Anytime you got a mayor, a city councilman, and everybody's buying your stuff, and we broke a record, and that's the hardest state to do it in. Out of 50 states, North Carolina is the hardest state, and we broke a record. Our very first time, we have something. She believed in it. She said, I believe in it. I believe in you, and let's do it. And we talked about it, prayed about it, and then we went together through our finances, right? From penny to penny. Like dollar to dollar. My wife is Asian. She counted every single penny. We went through all of our stuff. What's important, you have to be on one accord with your spouse about that, right? I would have never done a decision like that without her, without her blessing off on it. So, making sure you have that together is important. So we talked about it. She was on board. She supported it, and she's been supporting ever since. Now, this has been, as you know, a very, very tough journey. And the thing that you don't say enough is that your spouse she's probably having time to suffer, especially when you're building it.
The ones closest to you are going to suffer. Family time
1000%.
that you sacrifice, time with your significant other that you sacrifice to build this journey is crazy, right?
You know what's crazier about it, if you think about it though? Like, if think, it's probably hard to say, but like, if you didn't have a spouse or you didn't have kids, what would you be building it for?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't, right? You have no purpose.
You have no purpose without family.
Goes
right?
back to the last episode when we're talking about building a business, right?
Yeah, you have no.
You lack passion and you don't have a purpose.
I don't have a purpose without them. Like, I would have no reason to build this. I want this to be bigger than me, so they can live on. I want to be on the nice side of town and marble floors. And I told my wife all the time, I said, you better doggone believe when we sell this business and we're gonna get it sold and it's gonna sell for a lot of money, I want you to wear a freaking pink fur coat in the middle of summer because you earned it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same.
Hey, I think I'll be your biggest cheerleader and supporter on that journey.
You can wear a fur coat too, man. You can wear a fur coat too.
And I'll tell you, I think hopefully this media company that we're building with Measure Up Podcast helps our listeners, just like it's going to help you to build your brand.
Yeah.
I think this is a foundation that will help people. Branding and awareness is crucial, right? But the biggest brand that we represent is our families.
Absolutely.
And that, I think is the foundation. So I'll go into, family for me, the most important aspect of it. I'll never forget one of the first lessons that I learned from my father, was, hey, listen, I don't leave a lot of education. I didn't have a master's degree. My dad came here with equivalent to a 5th grade education when he got here, didn't speak the language very well. So speaking English in our household was paramount. My dad did not want me to struggle not being able to speak English fluently like he did when he came here. And he said, listen, you're going to have the best opportunity through education, through everything, but don't ever forget your family and where you came from. Your roots are the foundation for your success. And I'm going to tell you something. When you sign your name to something, that stands. And it needs to mean something.
Wow.
And so family to me is a legacy that you build long term. And that is the foundation for everything that you sprout from there, whether it be business, whatever it is, right? And so I had a chance early on I know what it's like when you're first generation here, right? And you see family members grow businesses. I had an uncle in Santa Teresa area that grew a furniture store right across the street from where I live. He built his own furniture store. We were there helping paint and do stuff to help
Wow.
him when he first got it. Watching, other family members start up real estate companies and other things. Every single person has went out and forged their way, right, in the world. But it's about making sure that the legacy that you leave behind as a family is important, right? Because it gives you a starting point.
Yeah.
And just like in anything in life, you have to have a destination that you want to go to. And that destination is to leave a legacy behind for your family better than what you found it.
Yep. Yep.
Right. And at the end of the day, to me, that's where I put everything. So family is the staple. It's the core. Everything
Absolutely.
circles around that. But the first family, let's be real, right? When I think about family and I think about building a business and I think about our pillars, I'll go back to some scripture. And for me, when I read Genesis and you think about our Father, right? Creating Adam, and you go through that scripture and you're reading that, you look at where we're at today in family dynamic. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say it, and I think it's very important that we grasp this.
This may be the episode we get canceled.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
go
could be
ahead.
the episode we get canceled. Leave it to Don to do that.
It's
But
been real, America. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
think I think for our listeners, I think it's very important, right? When you look at that, when God created Adam, Eve was created from Adam's rib, right?
Right.
It is a man's role to lead.
Absolutely.
It is a man's role to be accountable, to be a provider, a protector, those type of things. And I think we have de-emasculated men in the family sector.
1,000%.
In the United States, I can speak specifically for, not in other countries. I can only speak for here. We have de-emasculated men, and it has created a anomaly where that family dynamic has been fractured. It's broken. And we are creating a society that is lacking not male toxicity. That's not what I'm speaking to. What I'm talking about is a male that leads a family the right way through faith, right? Through fitness, through finance, the right way, with purpose, with passion to leave a legacy behind. I think as we're talking about family, when I go to scripture and I look at that, when you look at that fracture is when men were not accountable. And even, when, and you'll have to excuse me because I'm a newer Christian to this, but when God seen and called for them in the garden, right? The first response was Adam deflected. Well, you created this person, right?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Right. So when you look at that lack of accountability created where we are today, right? A lot of the sin.
If I could piggyback off that too, one of so it's funny. My dad always talks about this in his sermons and whatnot. But one thing he said when you mentioned that God called Adam, but the reason why the snake was able to talk to Eve, the question, he would never been able to talk to her if Adam was in his rightful place.
100%.
He was out of place. So when a man is out of position, your family will then suffer, right? And I think it's become, to your point, it's become normalized to not necessarily having a man on. No, I know things happen, deaths happen, or whether the case to be single moms, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not trying to do that, but when a male is out of the home and he's out of position, it just goes down like that, 1,000%.
Yeah, and it's just, I think about my journey where I didn't have faith as the first pillar, and the way that I led was not the way that he called me to lead or the way that I'm capable of leading, right? I led from a selfish place. And so I think about that. The whole point when I see family, it's selfishness that people get themselves into trouble with. True leaders of a family are selfless.
Selfless, yep.
If you come with a selfless mindset where you're here to serve your family and to make things better and pave that way, that's where things grow, right? And if you're in the audience and you're listening, it's no different than building a business. You have to be selfless. It's not about you. It's about the people you're serving, both your consumers and your partners, right? Your team members. That to me is the most important thing. So when I think about a legacy and I think about, how do you leave something behind for your family in a business, it is your actions, not your words. Yeah. How you lead your family is going to be important because we can say all the right things. Like you tell them, like I'll never forget as a kid. I'm sure you've seen those, right? This is your brain on drugs. Like they fried an egg, right? Is that yours? I can't believe you took those drugs. Well, guess what? Chances are they mimic behaviors that they see. And
Absolutely.
if people come from fractured environments where those type of behaviors exist, you are much more likely to embody those behaviors. Conversely, if you come from a background like you did, you're much more likely to live that life. Doesn't mean it's always going to happen, right?
Right. You have choice.
Yeah,
Right,
there's discernment there where
yeah.
you have the ability to say you're going to go that way or not. But I look at it and I'm like, man, that is a key foundation for success.
Boys and men 5 to 6 times more likely to go to prison without having a man or a male in the house.
100%. So how do you have purpose in your life without your family, right? So for the audience, I think there are a few key things that you look at. Number one is you have to define what it is that you want. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say this because I think it's important. Don't ever look at things as a crutch, right? Just because I can't stand when I hear people say, well, I came up in an abusive environment or my parents got divorced or this happened or that happened. At a certain point, you have to own where you are right now.
Right.
And you can't make an excuse for what the past was. All you can do is pray for the ability to move forward, to heal, and to lead the way that you were called to lead. And I think taking ownership in your personal position right now changes the trajectory of your life. Like, I'll be frank. I grew up with some things that I seen that I didn't care for, right? So I made it a point. It's not a bad thing. I just made it a point not to do those things as a parent, right? There were things that I said consciously, I'm going to lead a little bit differently and I'm going to do some things that are going to change the narrative. I'm not going to keep a cycle because you know as well as I do, there's good things in family cycles and there's generational curses and things that you need to break. I think part of that is learning those things, how to navigate those things so that you can create a better environment for your kids.
One of my favorite motivation, Victor Les, always says, use your past as a place of reference, not as a place of residence.
Amen. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, seriously.
Yeah,
literally, it's as simple as Disney Lion King, like Hakuna Matata. Like you literally can't dwell on that stuff. You can, like you said, acknowledge the trauma, acknowledge it, and then pray for God to heal. And then you got to move on at some point. You got to, you know what I mean? At some point it happened. You know, I'm so fortunate and so blessed that they mentioned like growing up in the household I grew up in. Like I didn't have like I think I could pretty much have dang near picture perfect life, right? My parents are still married today. They're 40 plus years, and hear your story. It's like, man, you could have just learned like, oh, you know, my dad did, you know, my parents came over and they divorced, and you could have just literally, it could have been woe is me, you know. And you didn't let that happen, right? You kind of
No, yeah. And you know what's crazy is I watched both of them excel and succeed in different times in their life.
Okay.
It's just that marriage, it reached a point to where it was combustible. And now when you look back with maturity and you look back because you are a man leading your own family, you can see where things came unrailed. You could see where the cracks took place.
I mean, two becoming one is
hard.
Freaking hard, man.
Very
when you're
hard.
dealing with human nature. I mean, it's in. I mean, I look at you know, my situation as far as my wife, like literally being from the Bay Area, born and raised here, Asian Vietnamese family, and then I'm Black and Southern, and you're trying to take two worlds and literally bring them together. And then I come from a place. My wife will tell you I'm quote unquote privileged because we came up with money. Even though I wouldn't consider myself rich. But, you know, her mom was a single mom of 3 daughters raising by themselves. So when we were doing marriage counseling, I was always concerned. It was like finances because I come from we had finances, and she's like, we're trying to merge this together. And even now, you know, 15 years in, we have to talk about it. We have to, you know, I could see like how it can come derail because I'm like, oh, this could really derail a marriage, right? And so when you're talking about building a business, you better darn sure make sure that your spouse is on board when you're telling her, hey, I'm going to leave a good corporate American job that pretty much paid for a lot of things that we have, and I'm going to leave, you know, a great 6-paying job, and I'm going to go to 0. And I'm going to have to have you hold it down for God knows how long, and I'm going to be gone out the house all the time, building a business. And by the way, I'm not going to have any time to spend with the girls, and when I'm traveling, you're going to have to watch them. You dang sure better make sure you know what you're talking about. And you better be on one accord.
But that's where trust comes in.
Yeah.
Right. And she's making sacrifices just like you are,
Right.
but how you're leading and the vision that you're painting for her to build your family and leave that legacy behind. That's what listeners, I think, are trying to contemplate whether they should or shouldn't do things to launch their business.
Do it.
I'm all for it.
You got to do it. You got to.
I'm all for
I
it
mean,
because you don't want to sit on a stool later on in life and reflect back.
You never want to look back and be like, what could have? And that was like my biggest thing when I was in corporate America and I worked for Department of Defense. So many people, older generation, just always, only 2 more years to retire. I wish I had started that business. I wish I had did that. And I want to look back. And one thing my mom will tell you, she told me years ago, this is probably back in late 80s or whatever the case may be. My dad had this idea to put the Bible on a cassette back in the 80s. What if he had did it? I mean, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now. I'd probably be a millionaire, but you know what I mean?
You
but
would be.
Yeah. But you don't want to live right. Life is too short.
No,
Thinking about
100%.
woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know what I mean? Just do it. Launch that business, launch that podcast. But sometimes Dr. Miles Monroe, who's a powerful pastor that passed away, he talked about sometimes the struggle is in the journey. It's not in the destination. God will show you. If he showed you the end, you would never want to start.
Correct.
So sometimes you just got to start. Sometimes you just literally have to start. Because if I'd have known how hard it was, you think I would have just signed up? Like, you would have never signed up to do this. I don't know. I want to do this. Like, if I was just born with $1 million, I'd been great. But if I'd have known I was going to be starting a business and I've had to max out credit cards and pay them off and run it back up and refinance my house, all to just try to get some stability, like, I would have never signed up for that. Every day I'm like, I should have stayed in corporate America where I got a guaranteed paycheck twice a month. And again, those that are in corporate America, there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody is called to entrepreneurship.
No.
And that's okay.
It
right?
takes people just like a family with different roles. Right.
Exactly.
And so we need corporate America
Absolutely,
in order
1000%.
to have entrepreneurship. So
absolutely.
there's a balance.
Absolutely. But
so corporate America, as we're going through this, right?
Yeah.
When you're in your family dynamic, how do you excel? Because you still have to make sacrifices in corporate America to climb the ladder.
Absolutely.
So how do you do that?
Yeah, funny you mention that. So I was actually a very fast climber. I was fortunate that I climbed fast prior to kids. But I do know my mentor at the time, was a senior vice president of a major division in a tech company I was working at the time. And I asked him, I was like, how do you do this? Because this is, you're always on your phone. You have no time. And he's literally like, some days I don't. Some days are not my own. It's pretty much, the company pretty much owns me. And he told me that. He said, if you want to get to this level, you have to understand there's no such thing as, he told me something about, there's no such thing as work-to-life balance.
There isn't.
There is none. And that's the same for entrepreneurship or corporate America when you get to a certain level, right? Once you get past, like, I say senior director level, vice president level.
It's a wrap even there. Like, literally, it's funny you say that. In corporate America, for the audience, in order to elevate and get to where you want, the sacrifices that you have to make, you're sacrificing family time.
Absolutely.
When you're on the road and you're traveling, you're sacrificing family time. You have to have that rock behind you that is balancing you. And you have to know that my kids are going to go to school. They're doing the right things. They're getting their meals cooked. Things are happening. Someone's there to pick them up. That's a level of trust. Just like when you're on the road, they got to know that you're doing what you're supposed to and not other things.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a trust factor both ways.
But it goes back to your point, is vision. Yeah. You got to have the vision, right? What are we trying to accomplish together? What is the end goal? What do you want to do?
I want to multiply. I don't want to divide.
Yeah.
I want to multiply. I don't want to divide. I'm all about multiplication,
multiplication,
brother.
babe. Fruitful and multiply, right?
That's it.
Well, when you got married and you talked, what did you say? What are we doing? What's the end goal? What are we trying to do? I want to build this business to what? So you don't have to work.
Exactly.
I don't freaking, and I am a strong component. I do not believe God brought us on this earth to freaking work from the time that we start college until the freaking age of 67, and then to wait for a goddamn pension, or which we don't even have. We don't even have pensions anymore.
No, we don't.
We don't even have. So your 401k. Life has got to be better than that.
It is, but that's where you got to go out and create it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the discipline to be able to do that, it's going to be tough. And I think balancing out those components with faith, family, fitness, finance, that's it. And I'll tell you what, the family to me is the hardest thing because, it's funny. I was having a conversation with somebody that was talking to me about like vacations, right? So like we were talking, we're shooting content because I finally carved out a little bit of time,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I don't ever do that. It's been a long time. And so I was reflecting, looking back at pictures of the kids on the wall on trips. I'm like, oh yeah, that's when they went to Disneyland. That's when they went here. You know what? When I was building my businesses or excelling in corporate America, I paid for them. I wasn't able to
You want to
go.
go.
I wasn't able to go. They never had to worry about where their meals were coming from. They wanted Jordans. They wanted nice clothes. They wanted to live in a nice area. But there was a sacrifice that had to be
But
made.
I think that's the part that like people don't see. People just take it for granted. I look back, I'm like, man, it's the same thing with my dad. I'm like, man, you were working. My mother was a not single mom, excuse me. She was a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids. My dad, we didn't want for any freaking thing. And I'm like, man, now I come home. Now I get it why you want to slap everybody in the house when they were cutting up.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, you deal with stuff that you do on the job. My dad was something in the 80s. He's the only black officer dealing with freaking racism every day. And you got to come home and deal with kids that act up. Like, yeah, I get it. I didn't understand it now that I have my own kids, but like what you sacrificed.
You have to.
You have to sacrifice, and at the end of the day, your kids will appreciate you for it. Like, hey, we had everything that we needed.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember reaching a point, my wife was in a tech field, and when Nika was born, I said, that's it. We're going to move. I'm going to take this role, and I don't want you working. I'm not going to drop him off to daycare.
Absolutely.
Like, I want you with him. Like, I'm not going to be able to be there the entire time, and I'm going to work crazy 6-7 days a week, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to have to work. I want you to be there to take care of him.
Yeah.
That's how I was raised.
How did that go?
It was great.
Oh, really?
I mean, she was really supportive, right? I went and
what was the cost of gallon of gas when you decided to do that? Just for listeners.
$1.65. Yeah. Well, I'll say this: I was that dude that had a switch.
Yeah.
So when she told me that we were having my son, we weren't married yet, right? And so I was like, okay,
it was turned on for you. Huh?
So I was already grinding. I was wrapping up law school, and I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm going to buy a condo. By the time my son is born, he's going to be in his own room that he can call his. Wow. So I did that. First box check. 24 years old, bought my first property.
So hold on, let's back up because I don't want people to miss that. So did you speak it, and then did you write it, and then you execute it?
I did. 100%. Thought it, writ it down, and I'm like, I'm doing this. I don't care what I got to do. I don't care how hard I got to hustle. My son is going to have his own room when he's born.
Vision, make it plain, write it down, people, and then you have to execute. And you just didn't sit around and just smoke.
No, there was no smoke and mirrors. There was no like hoping for things. No, I was hustling, working holidays, late nights, whatever. It didn't make a difference. But I'll tell you what, it happened. Yeah. And from there, it was I had other goals, and so we moved to Southern California, bought a bigger property, and moved from there to Arizona, bought a bigger property.
You know what's interesting, Don, about your journey when we talk about faith, from somebody that grew up in church and why I became so like sometimes just downright disgusted with like in our day, back in the early days, it was like this whole like name it and claim it thing. Like, oh, it was like you manifested and you speaking and the check was going to show up in the mail or a car. And it was just like, it was almost like treating God like a genie. Do this. And then he'll give you this and do this. And I just got so fed up and just sick of it, right? And so what I preach about your journey is like you literally embodied what Christianity looked like in terms of your work ethic, right? Like that's something that we tend to do in Christianity. What I've seen, is we tend to be all faith and no works. A lot of talking, but we don't execute, or we just think that. Oh, just because I've spoken. Now, there is death and life are definitely in the power of the tongue. Be careful what you say. But 9 times out of 10, if I'm speaking something, I want to be a millionaire, but I'm just sitting around playing video games. That's not how God works.
No.
It's not going to work, right? And so you had the discipline and really all of it to literally make things happen, right? Before you even knew what your faith journey was, you were really operating it if you think about it.
And I'll tell you what, it's I appreciate that, and it starts with what our topic is, family. I watched my dad. He's an amazing provider, right?
Yeah.
The discipline and the work ethic that he had to do what he did day in and day out and the sacrifices that he made. And same with my mom, watching her go back from being a stay-at-home mom to going back to school, doing that. Grandparents on both sides, like seeing that. Like I came from, on my dad's side, they were migrant farm workers.
Oh, wow.
Like I remember my dad taking me out, clear as day. There was a cannery here on the east side of San Jose. We went out there and my grandmother was literally out there in the field working in the cannery, and my grandfather worked in the horse stables here. And I thought it was the coolest thing, right, as a kid, because we got to go to the San Jose County Fairgrounds. But he drove the water truck and did certain things. I seen how hard they worked, right? It was never about monetary things. It was about family, bringing people together. You worked to be able to provide for your family for a better future, right? And when you think about those things, it helps shape me, like where I'm at, where I want to be. And that is kind of what pushed me. That work ethic was instilled from day one. If my dad could come here and not even really speak English and get to where he's at, well, dude, if I'm educated here, I better excel. I better excel. Like that was instilled in me, right? Yeah. And that.
But you had a good example of a man, right?
100%. I was very thankful for that.
Very thankful for that. You know, I think so many people take that for granted. People take it for granted.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, discipline. It's different when you come from a minority family. Like I got that belt taken to me.
You got that belt. Everybody did.
Yeah,
most minorities. Please don't cancel us. But back in the day, there was no such thing as gentle parenting. It was you got the belt and you got your behind toe up.
Like, so my head, right, all analytical. My dad's like, okay, go pick that switch. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get that little one. Because he make
you go back out and get another one.
No. So I got it, and that stupid thing cut me because it snapped. I should have got the big ass log,
so
right? Yeah, so it would have broke. I'm like, man, I learned those things. So later on, it's funny. I had a conversation with Pops. I'll never forget. I had him out to Arizona, right? So when I bought that big ass property out there, Eagle Mountain Golf Course, he's just like, wow, he was blown away. My grandfather came, which was huge, because he called me. They came from Nogales, Arizona, from Mexico City. Like that area in Jalisco where they came, they migrated all the way through. So the first border they came across was Nogales, Arizona. And so my grandfather still has a property there, and they were going through some legal stuff over there. And he calls to ask if the family from Phoenix can come, because I lived in a private gated community. Didn't even think, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, of course they can come. Community. Yeah, I'm like, of course they can come.
You hear that America Dom was doing all right back in the 90s.
Yeah. So and I was like, of course, they're family. Yeah. Like, it's not even, dude, my neighbors were Amari Stoudemire, VJ Singh, golfer, like people like that, right?
Hey, where's the
Scott
camera? Hey, Don, you pay for this podcast. This is the first I'm hearing about this, man.
Oh, stop, dude. So, but bottom line, I had a pretty nice product. And I'll never forget that look of like, wow, like from coming here to being here, right? Yeah. I'm his firstborn grandson. And so me and Pops, we were talking, and hey, we used to get them switches in those meetings, right? I remember telling him, we're sitting there, we're having a beer, and I was watching a De La Hoya fight, and I had him over for his birthday, and I was like, man, you know what? I felt like a Kurd growing up. He's like, what? I was like, you were like Saddam Hussein. I felt like a Kurd growing up. He's like, you turned out okay, right?
Yeah, but seriously.
That's it.
How legit, our generation, how much respect do we have for our elders? Just
tremendous.
Seriously, half the crap that's going around in the world today, you think it'd be going around if parents were still handling business and
disciplining the way they should?
Disciplining the way they should?
Well, here's, all kidding aside, here's why I brought that up. Accountability is love. And that is the hardest thing to do in a family, is be able to provide that accountability. And it's a man's responsibility to be accountable himself.
Absolutely.
First to the man upstairs, more importantly than anything. Follow that path and lead the right way, right?
Wow.
And it took me years to go through a lot of struggle, right? Because I fail way more than I've done. I look back and I'm like, man, I cannot believe like how far I've come without the right path in certain aspects of life, spiritually, right? Because I was off on the rails, on the wrong path for a lot of years, right? Being able to acknowledge that, like, talk about humbling as a family, like being, first of all, communicating that with our Heavenly Father,
right?
Then being grateful for my physical father and mother here, right? And being able to share that with my family and that journey. Like, I'll say this, getting baptized recently, dude, the pictures I shared with you of my family, that meant more to me than anything.
Oh, 1,000%.
More to me than anything. And it's not, because the journey is actually harder once you get baptized, not easier.
Right,
it ain't an easy walk. Like those attacks. No, man, it gets harder, because I'm not one of those fake ones. Like, if I'm struggling, you'll know. Like, I tell you, man, it's hard.
Transparent, right?
I'm battling this, man. It's terrible, right? But that's where that community comes in and family, right? And I think that's important, not only to be able to grow your business, but yourself personally.
No, that's that 1,000%. So one thing I was gonna add is you mentioned just having that example of your dad. I think back to like all the years that my parents were. My dad was the same way, man. My dad had a thing called assume the position. That meant lay across the ground. He's gonna grab a belt, put your hands on the pillow. He's gonna handle business. You were like, what the freak, man? This is abuse. Like nowadays, you can never do
Of
that.
course.
But I call my dad sir. So the other day, yes sir, no sir. I honor him as just a man, as an officer. And I think about like I'm like, man, I'm so grateful. We had so you mentioned like looking at pictures of your kids. We go through a lot of family photos, and like literally, we went on vacation every summer to Disney World. Now this is back in the day, not but if I was like my dad was like, Dad, how did you do it? He said, oh, we would save all freaking year was saved just so you guys can. So now I instill it into my kids because I saw him model it. So now I'm always like, oh, we're taking my kids on vacation. My daughter is so freaking spoiled. The other day when we went to Hawaii, she said, "We're going to Hawaii again." I'm like, "Girl, you didn't even you've been to all 5 islands." But I want you to know that this is family time because my parents instilled that in us. And you mentioned that accountability. I want you guys to know we're accountable to each other. And please, like when you get older, please challenge me if you see me acting up, call me out on my BS. I want to be right with God, and then I want you to challenge me, right? We would challenge our parents in the right way. We wouldn't like,
Sure.
but like, hey, my daughter's like, hey, sometimes she may make a joke, hey, Dad, you said this, or you didn't have to yell, and it's like, you know what? I did not have to yell. Let me take that correction and try to, you know what I mean, and try to instill those, right? I think my parents are hard on us. Do I have to be as hard as they were on me? Probably not, because I'm raising daughters versus raising boys. But like, you're also not going to disrespect me or talk to me a certain type of way either. So it's like finding that balance, right? But like you said, could I do that without seeing a man in the house? Probably
So I have a
not.
question for you.
Yeah.
Because as we're on this topic of family dynamic, because I know it was hard for me to navigate. Um, Even though my parents were divorced, I had a biological father that was present, accountable, and doing the things along with my mom.
Hmm.
My wife, she went through some tough times, right?
Sure.
And I look back and, her mom pretty much raised her. There was a early breakup,
Okay.
right? And so her and her brothers, same dad, mom got married later on in life, but, she pretty much, the first time I heard her mention her biological father, it wasn't the way I like had endearment for mine, right? It was a different dynamic, not
Wow.
bad, good, not judging at all, just
Okay.
different, right?
Okay.
And so coming from the background that you had when you are bringing a family together, that you have a spouse that did not have a male figure present.
Sure.
How hard is that for you when you are trying to lead the family the right way? Because you had that, I had that,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And there's conflict
Sure.
sometimes.
Sure. It can be very, very
It's hard to navigate,
it's
huh? So
hard.
what are
Very.
some things for the audience if they ever go through stuff like that you've had to think before you speak
Yeah.
on?
I think before you speak, number one. Never rush to speak. I learned that the hard way because naturally, sometimes if me and my wife have a spat, I could say stupid stuff like you don't know because you never had a man that like you can't. That's the wrong thing. That was early on in our marriage, right? But we've had to learn. So premarital counsel, we had to talk a lot about that because I saw in my house what I would call an iron fist in my dad, right? I saw him rule with the iron fist. When he says it went, it go, that's it, no but and ifs about it. And so naturally I'm like, well, I'm the man in the house, so this is,
Yeah.
hey, she's like, pipe down a little bit. But we had to really navigate that. And we're still going through the process because my wife didn't understand when we got married, is she didn't understand the concept of like head of household. Because her mom's been the head of the household for a long
Sure.
time. She never had to, right? So literally when we were in marriage counseling, she's like, well, why do we got to call it like that? I was like, yes, we are a team. But at the end of the day,
There's still a captain of the
there's a
team.
captain of the team, or even that. If tomorrow a burglar comes up in here and somebody gets shooting, who's taking the bullet first for the family? It's not you. It's me. And I'll stand by that every day. I'll take a bullet
100%.
for you and these girls 1,000%. right? Also even gender roles, right? She's like, I don't think I believe in gender roles. Well, when's the last time you took out the trash? I take out the trash, and I don't have a problem with that. I'll take out the trash. I'll cut the grass, just like you do my daughter's hair. So we had to just learn all these things as we go. But it's important, if I can say anything else, you have to communicate and keep an open dialogue, right? And so for her, she'd always ask, well, what did your dad do this? Did your dad do that? Like, how did you navigate that? So for example, raising my voice in my house, it's a big thing, right? Because you can play around with your mom, but when your dad raised that voice,
You knew you're getting whooped. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
And so she's always like, "Do you have to yell?" And when I was telling her one time, it's like, I don't have to yell, but I'm not gonna repeat myself a couple times,
Yeah.
right? And so you have to instill that, but it's a struggle, man. It's a struggle, but you have to literally stay on top of it. Obviously, keep the lines of communication open, and then don't be afraid to always revisit stuff. So we go back and revisit some of the things, like we've had this workbook that we did, premarital counseling booklet. We go back, we revisit it, because I'm the worst at active listening, which is a term that they use, right? We have to go back and say something again. I'll be like, oh my God, this is so freaking stupid, right? But like, I need to hear that. I need you to listen, cut it off, and like I'm just like sitting around like, okay, I hear you. But some days my natural action is because you don't know, because you never had it around,
Yeah.
right? It's natural to say that, and that's okay, right? You can literally say you don't know because you don't model it. But at the same price, you can't. What I learned is you can't put anybody down or make them feel a certain type of way because they didn't have it. Because at
No.
the end of the day, it's not her fault,
No.
right? And so
And you
that
chose
and
that
you
person, and they chose
and
you.
they chose you, and this is the
Yeah.
dynamic that we
100%.
had. You know what I mean? And so she's, so you have to talk about it. Like, hey, I don't want you to feel. So what I learned is that you saw life in a different manner than I saw it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it different.
Goes to the
However,
unity
it
thing
goes.
that we're talking about.
But as we're doing this is how I envision our family to be, with male leading. I need a vision, and we need to walk this vision together. And people get all caught up in the term submission because they think it's like a denotation of the word, but it's actually no. It's like, yeah, you can rule per se, but like I'm submitted to her. I can't make. You think I can make a decision without her? Like or you could, but you're gonna catch hell.
There's going to be consequences with it. Sure.
You know,
Like you decide to buy a Ferrari tomorrow. Yeah.
I mean, maybe when this podcast picks up, I think I'll maybe not Ferrari, but something similar. There'll be signs.
So it's funny, for takeaways for the audience, I think as you're talking about family, one of the biggest things I learned in business that applies there is our creator gave us two of these and one of these for a reason. You need to listen twice as much as you speak.
Absolutely.
Whether it's in business, family, and that's different, right? The other thing is, as we're talking about family, and hopefully someday you'll be blessed with that if you guys choose. You have two daughters, so I have two daughters.
We're about to shut it down, man.
But
No,
having a son as well is different, right? So, I was blessed to have my son, and then blessed with two daughters, and that's vastly different. You asked me which one, facetiously, which one?
Okay,
okay,
everyone has a favorite.
but
Come on, Don, tell the truth.
Here's the bottom line. So it's different because I remember my dad telling me, he's like, it takes a man to raise a man.
Absolutely.
You got to understand that, son.
Absolutely.
It takes a man to raise a man. Otherwise, you're going to be a boy and you'll be selfish, you'll be undisciplined, and there's things that you're going to go through in life. It takes a man to raise a man, whether it's mistakes that you learn from, growth, business, strategy,
Absolutely.
leading a household, all of those things. But with daughters, it's different, right? So I look back at times as a father where I was doing things leadership-wise differently with my son than I did with my daughters. There were certain principles that were there.
Sure.
Right? But the amount of authority or discipline that I tried to instill in him, because this is a cruel world for a man that lacks discipline, lacks structure.
Especially minority males.
100%. And accountability.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, look, you have to learn, because these things are going to translate into business and in life. And if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead a family and you can't lead a business. And so that was different, right? Now with my daughters, it's funny you say that. You have to change your tone, your verbiage.
Yeah.
Like you see them get emotional, right? And then with the two daughters, my middle one, Chloe, she has a lot of my attributes analytical wise, but she's so much like my wife, right?
Really?
And then
Okay.
the little one, Paige, man, that is me, dude. Like she will literally call me on my BS. No like attitude, like just straight up, right? I remember when she was little, we would do daddy-daughter dates, right?
Okay.
We would go take time to just her and I to spend doing something that she wanted, hang out, right? Those were important days. When you look at that, right? We're the person that they're going to try to
Absolutely.
that they're going to try to role model and emulate in their life, right? So how you do those things is super important. And she's comfortable, like even being uncomfortable with me. Like if there's an issue that the other two are not comfortable bringing up.
It.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I've got this Cane Corso, right? Hercules is a savage, right? And he's a dominant breed. Well, he's been, for whatever reason, like being some kind of way with her. And she's like, Dad, like you need to figure this out. Or the other two ain't going to say it, but I'm telling you. Yeah. Like we literally had that, right?
Yeah.
That's important that you develop that trust and that rapport with them, that they feel comfortable to do that. Just like in business, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to elevate up and elevate down dialogue. And it's important to have that flow of information so you can make adjustments and become the best version that you need to be, both for your family and your business. So for me, it's such a learning curve, right? And seeing it now from a different perspective where they're young adults and the decisions that they make.
Your oldest is how old?
So my oldest will be 28. Nico will be 28 in January.
28-year-old?
Yeah, Nico will be 28 in January.
Wow.
He's 27 right now.
Wow.
Or excuse me, 26. He'll be 27.
He'll
be 27 in January. Chloe is 22. She'll be 23. My middle one in July. And Paige, her birthday is literally Thursday. She turns 22. My youngest turns 22.
Wow. For those that don't know, Don is old enough to be my dad. Just want to throw that out there. We're all pretty in the same bracket there. Wow.
There you go.
20, wow. Okay. Let me ask you this. So you mentioned so you say you had to parent them different?
Mm-hmm.
So would you say, the reason why I asked is because I'm one of four. I have a brother and two sisters. My dad was way harder on me and my brother than he was my sisters. Everybody can agree
absolutely.
with that.
I got the
Would
same
you say
thing.
you were harder on your son versus your daughters?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. He was the first one to work with me. He worked at InMotion. I brought him in. And it's funny. I remember him, he was really into technology and gaming, right? And I brought it. I used to reward that behavior. So if you get straight A's, just like my dad with me, I'll give you whatever you want. You want this game, you want that, I'll get it for you. Mm-hmm. So it was my way of incentivizing him to do well in school, right? And so, or behave or do his chores, whatever, right? There was always something there. But it's funny because when it came time for sports, he just didn't like sports like I grew up with them, right? Okay. So I tried to make a conscious decision not to push him that way. But I remember high school. I told him, I said, "You're going to play football." My wife's looking at me like, "Don, are you serious?" I go, "No, he
Father of the year."
I told him, I said, he needs to go through that. Discipline. I don't care whether he starts. I don't care whether he's a superstar. He needs to go through that pain of understanding the discipline it takes to go through double days in high school football, getting hit, challenge, those things. Mm-hmm. He did. That poor kid, man, he went through it.
Getting lit up, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's just the practice, right? The fatigue, the soreness, all that. I thrived in those environments and it helped make me who I am. Now, I grew up a lot more rigid and a lot more aggressive and in your face than what I raised them, right? And I'm thankful for that because it helped shape me. But that other side helped soften it that I was telling you about my grandparents. So when I was able to push him in that way, it wasn't for sports purposes. It was for business and life purposes.
Yeah, sure.
Because there are obstacles and hurdles you're going to have to overcome in life to fight. And sometimes there's no way out. It's through. You've got to literally fight through things. There's no way around it.
But I mean, to your point, no, the world doesn't care. Specifically, minority males,
they don't care.
It's
unforgiving.
It's completely unforgiving, right? You just got it. Like you said, you got to freaking fight through. Nobody cares. Like legit, you walk in work tomorrow. If it's a man crying and a girl crying, who do you think is a sympathy?
Yeah, exactly. Be like, you get your shit and get your stuff together.
Get
Yeah,
the freak up
yeah,
out of here, man.
yeah,
Nobody's trying to deal with you, you know. Man, that's really powerful. So 20s, man, I did not know your old son was 27.
yeah,
But you had kids young though.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
24.
you had
I had
wow.
Nico at
You
24
had
years
Nico at
old.
24.
24 years old.
Wow.
Just graduated. And he's the reason why I went full time in fitness.
Yeah.
Literally.
Wow.
I was gonna pursue that route, and Kelly tells me that I have a son on the way, and I'm like, all right,
That's
that,
what we got to do.
And I thank Nico, because if it wasn't God's blessing to put him in my life, I wouldn't have done fitness as a career. That's
No
facts.
kidding.
That's facts. I had the passion because of what I went through,
Yeah.
but his blessing of being born really motivated me to take action and there was no waiting anymore.
Yeah.
There's no waiting. It was like, I'm gonna have a house, and I know I can make this happen here.
Yeah. So you think he'll look back and say, my dad was too hard on me. I hated him because he made me play football.
No.
No.
I think he is thankful for the discipline and the things that he got. And when I had a chance to bring him into In Motion as well, the gym that I owned, he worked for me. And so he worked for me at UFC. I brought him in. I shared the pictures with you. I had him at the university. He was running our La Mirada in Anaheim store. And then, he's back now.
You're creating Nepo babies, Don, and I freaking love it. I love it. I love to see parents creating paths for their kids. I think it's great. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know what type of shit they get at the gym, but I'm sure they're probably like, oh, it's the owner's kids, but I don't care. I don't.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Now he's doing his own career path. He nabbed it, and he's back here in Northern California. But
okay.
It's great that he had that background, right? And
Yeah.
the one thing I look back on that I'm sure at some point he's going to reflect on, and that's the key to family, right? Is being able to have that time with your parent. You can't replace that. Watching your parents struggle, watching them take a dream, a vision, a seed that was planted, and show you through action, hard work and action, to actually materially improve their life in a way that nobody's seen possible. Nobody's seen that vision when I opened up that gym In Motion on my own. Yeah. It was a shell. It took me a year, almost lost everything.
Yeah.
Literally. And then COVID happened and got smacked and tons of different things, right? There were so many hurdles that I had to do. And I'll share this with you. You talk about being a founder, and we'll use this as the last piece. I'll never forget. I started the business on Halloween. That first Thanksgiving, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this thing happen. That first Christmas, my wife, always, here, this is what we got for Christmas. This is what we're spending on. Always been the same. Go from corporate America, making healthy salaries, to all of a sudden, I'm like, oh man, if I don't sell this PT package or these memberships, we're not having Christmas this year.
Wow.
Try to explain that. So talk about motivation.
Yeah, I was gonna say that motivation.
Talk about motivation, bro.
Yeah.
I came in hungry, motivated to make sure that I was not going to allow them to ever not have because I failed as a man.
Failed as a man.
No. That was not going to happen on my watch. Wow. And so we got it, and it was cool, and it was crazy. But later that year, mine and my wife's anniversary is in July, right? Okay. Right before Chloe's birthday.
Oh, ours too. July what?
July 12th.
Ours is 20th.
So when you look at where we're at, it's like, I'll never forget, my daughters were little, and they put together a anniversary party for us that first year that we were going through that, to have our walking ceremony where I got to say I do's with my mom. They invited my parents, and they invited, their friends, and it was impactful. That's how you know that you're leaving something behind for family. And it's the little things that you look back on and go, man, I was blessed to have them around me to support me through this.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing to be able to provide for them. So for the audience, to me, that's what life is about, right? If you have a calling and you are able to bless others, what better thing could you ask for than to have the responsibility to do so? That's an actual blessing.
We're put on earth to be a blessing to somebody.
Yes.
If you're not sharing it, what are you doing?
And that's what we want to do with what we're doing. And hopefully this content that we're putting out with Measure It will help you to measure your success, whether we're talking about family and being a man in that household, or partnering with your spouse, how do you measure growth inside of the family dynamic? And more importantly, how do you role model things so that your children and your spouse can aspire to grow with you?
Yeah. Hey, man, we're out of time. You can catch us again. Follow us on all social media, Measure It Podcast, man. Thank you again. Have a good one.